Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today seems like a good day to do something we haven't had a chance to do for a little while, and that is bring you the top 10 cards from Fusion Arts. And the thing to remember is, Fusion Arts is going to bring in a few cards that were cut from other sets. But largely, Fusion Arts is going to translate pretty clearly to Fusion Strike over here. And for that reason, this is one which I think, more than a lot of them, this is going to tell you what the top 10 cards are in Fusion Strike, and that makes me very happy indeed. What I will tell you is that although at the top we got some really good cards here, this is not the strongest set in terms of looking at the top 10. The top 10 is, I think to be polite, not littered with game-breaking cards, but certainly at the top end there are some that are going to do some real damage. So an honourable mention, just missing the list for Vikavolt. Vikavolt comes in with free retreat, which is quite nice, fairly low HP at 150 for a stage 2, but for 4 energy, 2 lightning, 2 colourless, you discard 2 lightning energy from this Pokemon, and you deal 200 to one of your opponent's Pokemon, which is clearly awesome. It works with Twin Energy, which is really rather lovely. It works with Flaffy to accelerate that lightning energy if you need it to, and then you can just discard those 2 energy, keep the lightning energy, and round you go, ladies and gentlemen. I really do think there is a huge amount of potential here. I do think this is one that could end up being really, really good. But I do have to caution you just a tiny bit, because over in Japan, this is actually seeing a bit of play as a cheeky rogue deck and doing quite well. But in Japan, they still have the Charger Bug from Unbroken Bonds, which you can attach as essentially a double lightning energy, and then it's just Charger Bug, which does not take your attachment for the turn, which is huge, and then Twin Energy, and then you've got it going in one go. Vikavolt is great in Expanded and great in Japan where they haven't rotated yet. Over here where they have, it's nowhere near as good. So coming in then at number 10, we've got TSAREENA V. And a lot of the lower end of this list really is going to be cards that could be really good under the right circumstances. So what we've got with TSAREENA V here is 1 grass, 1 colourless energy, 20 damage, and you may discard any number of your benched Pokemon, and this attack does 40 more damage for each benched Pokemon that you discarded in this way. So in theory, if you get rid of your entire bench, you do 220, and of course 220 just so happens to be the perfect number to get a one-hit KO on most Pokemon Vs. The problem is you've got to completely wreck your bench in order to do so, which generally speaking is not always the smartest plan. I think is not an unfair way to put it. So I think there is a lot of potential here, especially as a 2 energy attack. Makes it pretty easy to get going. But I don't know, this has got shades of Mega Gardevoir, but Mega Gardevoir had a whole bunch of extra tricks which really did set it apart. I don't think this is the new Mega Gardevoir, but I do think this could be a hard-hitting grass Pokemon that we should keep an eye on. In at number 9, we've got Chandelure VMAX. Now, partly, I love me some Chandelure, so I'm always going to overhype this a little bit. But secondly, I do think it's just a great card. The ability says that while it's active, your opponent isn't allowed to attach any tool cards from their hand, which is clearly brilliant. And then we've got an attack for just 2 energy. It's Max Poltergeist. Your opponent reveals their hand, and you deal 70 damage for each card you find there. Trainer card, not every card, each trainer card. That is super important. And it's a cool attack. 3 trainers will get you the majority of Pokemon V, and 5 will get you any Pokemon V Max. It's a very powerful card. But cards like this are always better when you pair them with some kind of item lock. and we don't have good item lock at the moment to pair with it. I still think it's a very powerful card, but because it needs item lock, I don't think it's good enough on its own at the moment. So as a tech in VDAX, I love it. And if we get some really good item lock in the future, I love it. But maybe chill a little bit on it for now. In at number 8, we've got Puku Muku. And I know that one of my supporters over on Patreon, patreon.com/PTCGradio, is going to absolutely love this. It's been a little while since we've had one of these to get excited about. And it's kind of cool, but kind of slightly underwhelming. You see, once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in your hand, you can put it on the bottom of your deck and draw a card. Which makes it very much like Unknown as a basic Pokemon that can draw you a card. Which is brilliant. However, it's also a little bit underwhelming because it's limited to once during your turn. And I do think that is a big deal. Like a genuinely big deal. Because the fact of the matter is, you want to be playing this so you can draw an extra 3 or 4 cards during your turn. But then it doesn't get discarded, it goes to the bottom of your deck, so they can be reused. I still feel pretty confident that we are going to see this in some speed decks, because there is a huge amount of potential here. It's something to keep an eye on, and you have been warned. In at number 7, we've got Hoopa V, and I don't know what to do with Hoopa V. I don't really know where I want to put Hoopa V on this list, I'll be honest with you. Because on the one hand, I don't think it's a terribly good card. For free energy, you do 170 and put 3 damage counters on one of your Pokemon. It's not a particularly good attack. But it's a Darkness type, which is also a Psychic type, which means you're hitting weakness on Shadow Rider Calyrex, and you're hitting weakness on the Urshifu VMAXs. Which means you're basically hitting, like, the 2 best weaknesses. And that makes me want to like the card an awful lot more. So, I'm a little bit torn on this one. I don't think the attack is particularly good, and I think we've just lost a lot of our good Darkness-type energy acceleration. Yes, I know we've got Galarian Moltres, but then you've got to play something like an energy switch to get the energy from Galarian Moltres over to this, which becomes a lot more awkward. But you're hitting such amazing weaknesses, maybe it's worth it. So I popped it in at number 7, but this one really could go either way. In at number 6, we've got Greedent VMAX. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you right at the beginning here. This is a card that I am absolutely in love with. I think I might be putting this card too high. And I don't even really care, because I love it. I am absolutely in love with it. What we basically got here is 2 energy, 30 damage, but if you KO a basic Pokemon, you take 2 more prize cards. And please remember that Toy Catcher will gust any Pokemon with 50 HP or less remaining, which means that Toy Catcher plus this becomes an amazing combo. And then for free energy, you do 160 damage and draw 3 cards. So you do decent damage while drawing 3 cards, or you take extra prize cards. And I love it. There is a fairly obvious combo here with Galarian Cassola, which, that's the one for a single Psychic Energy. You can put a basic Pokemon V from your opponent's discard pile onto their bench, and then put damage counters on it until it's got 30 HP remaining. Clearly, that's one which I think is good here, although there are, like I say, there are some people I've spoken to who think that's a little bit awkward. And they're probably right, if I'm honest with you. It is a little bit of a convoluted combo, but I'm thinking if you can take a cheeky 3 prizes, I think it might be worth the effort. It remains to be seen whether this is a good on paper, super interesting card, or an actual good top tier card, so I think popping it in at number 6, just outside the top 5, seems fair. For me personally, this is a card that really excites me, but it remains to be seen how good it's really going to be. Now, in at number 5, for the only time this video, I am cheating and I'm sorry. You see, what we've got at number 5 is the fusion stuff. So we could talk about something like Elisa's Radiance. It is a supporter card that lets you search your deck for 2 Fusion Strike energy and attach them to different Fusion Strike Pokemon. So you're accelerating 2 energy, which is lovely. Not to mention, of course, that Fusion Strike energy itself is any kind of energy, but also prevents all effective abilities done to the Pokemon it is attached to, and right now, that means you don't take the extra damage from the Inteleon from Chilling Reign, which is clearly a beautiful, beautiful thing. Yeah, that is, well, a rather gigantic bonus, quite frankly. We could then have a look at Power Tablets, which just plain lets you do an extra 30 damage with your Fusion Strike Pokemon this turn, which is clearly a really good thing, and something we could get a little bit excited about. And then we could even look at something like Meloetta, for instance. And I don't think Meloetta is some kind of, stunning, game-breaking card or anything silly like that. But I do think it's a really interesting card. So what Meloetta does is for 2 energy, you do 70 damage for each Fusion Strike energy attached to all of your Pokemon in play. But bearing in mind with Elisa's Radiance, there is absolutely a possibility here that you can get all 4 of them into play and be hitting 280, which is clearly a brilliant, brilliant thing. So basically, when you take all of these things, all of these fusion support cards, you end up with a suite of support that, frankly, Rapid Strike and Single Strike still don't have. In at number 4, we've got Mew VMAX. And like so many cards on this list, Mew VMAX is one that I don't really know what to do with, and I really do suspect we are a way away from seeing how good Mew VMAX can be. Basically, the hook of Mew VMAX for 2 colorless energy, you can copy any of your benched Fusion Strike Pokemon's attacks. And no, you do not need the correct energy. 2 colorless energy will copy any of them, regardless of what the cost actually is. And we've seen this from Mew a billion times before. Mew Prime was a deck that back in the day I was a big fan of, and I know a whole bunch of you were. Or we could look at the Mew EX that won Worlds, or the Mew EX that didn't win Worlds, or we could look at Mewtwo and Mew. The point is, right, these toolbox decks where Mew copies a whole bunch of attacks, they've always been good. Every time Mew gets his attack or ability, it always ends up being really good. So I've got to believe this is going to be. And I don't think at the moment we've actually got enough Pokemon to really make it stunning right now. But every time a new Fusion Strike Pokemon gets released, Mew gets a little bit better. So Latias is a nice example, not just Baby Daisy's Spirit Pokemon, but Latias, during your opponent's next turn, you prevent all damage done by VMAXs, and you deal 70 damage in the process. So against a deck which is only playing VMAXs, you copy Latias, and you just copy that until you end up winning the game. But then there's a whole bunch of other attacks you can use as well. Mew always makes good toolbox decks, and I refuse to put this any lower on the list, because basically at some point there's going to be another great Mew toolbox deck, and I don't want to be seen as a person to put this down at like number 8. In at number 3, we've got Cross Switcher. And Cross Switcher is gusting. And it's not phenomenal gusting, but it's gusting, and gusting is always good. So Cross Switcher here, what we've got is you can play 2 of them at the same time. And incidentally, you've got to. You cannot just play one. Sorry. And it's Guzma. You switch one of your opponent's bench while they're active, and then you switch. It is literally Guzma as an item card, but you've got to play 2 of them at the same time, which is clearly not ideal, but it's item-based gusting, and item-based gusting is amazing. And the fact of the matter is, we're in a format right now where every man and his dog is playing Drizzile and Inteleon. And Drizzile and Inteleon search out item cards, which means that there are going to be a lot of decks which are going to be able to use this a lot more easily than they traditionally would be able to in the past. And for that reason, I do think this is going to end up seeing just a whole bunch of play. I don't think it's going to be a staple in every deck, nor should it be, but I think there are enough decks that are going to want to use it that it becomes very, very relevant indeed. In at number 2, we've got CRABOMINABLEV, and I feel good about CRABOMINABLEV. This seems like the kind of Pokemon that could be absolutely stunning. For 1 water energy, you discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. It's fine, not stunning. But then, if you get to the bigger attack, yeah, sure, you need to put another couple energy on there, but you deal 90 damage, plus 60 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. And the thing is, this builds up hyper quickly. 2 damage counters means you do 120, plus the base 90 is 210, plus the 2 damage on them is 230. If they got 2 damage counters on, you're one-hit KOing a Pokemon V. 4 damage counters, you're hitting 240, plus the 90 base is 330, plus the 40 on there is 370, and oh look, now you're one-hit KOing VMAXs. And in a format where we've got worse options, like Galarian Zigzagoon with Scoop Up Net, and better options like Inteleon, and remember each Inteleon will drop 2 damage counters by itself, we are absolutely going to see this. In a deck that's playing water energy and playing a Pokemon which can drop extra damage counters, why would you not play one of these just as a huge swinging option? And the answer is, I think you do play one of these. I think this is absolutely brilliant. I think it is a stunning card, and I think it is going to see a huge amount of play. But in at number 1, there's no competition, it's Genesect. And it may well end up that the only truly stunning card from this set is Genesect. It is not the strongest set in terms of looking at the top 10. There have been many stronger sets as we go. But Genesect is nuts. The ability says that once during your turn, you may draw until you've got a number of cards in your hand equal to the number of Fusion Strike Pokemon you've got in play. The thing is, if you've got 6 Fusion Strike Pokemon in play, you draw till you've got 6 cards in your hand. And this is not limited to once per turn, it's once per turn per Genesect. Yeah. So what that means is that, in theory, you can draw 24 cards in one turn with Genesect. Now, I know that's rarely going to actually happen, but if you've got 4 Genesect in play and 2 other Fusion Strike Pokemon, then you draw till you've got 6 cards in your hand, play them all, draw till you've got 6 cards in your hand, play them all, draw till you've got 6 cards in your hand, play them all, draw till you've got 6 cards in your hand. This is possibly the most ridiculous draw engine we've ever seen. It is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. The attack, free energy, 210, can't attack next turn is fine, and honestly, with things like Metal Saucer and Bronzong, it's actually pretty easy to get rolling, not to mention the aforementioned Elisa's Radiance, by which I mean, if you go second, this is a legit option as a turn 1 attack. Attached for turn, Metal Saucer, Elisa's Radiance, again, remembering the ridiculous draw that Genesect's got. And if you go first, this is basically guaranteed turn 2. And 210 is enough to KO almost any Pokemon V. A single power tablet means you will. And you see where I'm going with this? Genesect is ridiculous. Genesect is an absolutely proper job, over-the-top, crazy, nuts Pokemon. And yeah, this is awesome, ladies and gentlemen. This is awesome. Not the strongest top 10 overall, but I feel so good about Genesect. And unless Mew gets a whole bunch of extra tricks to make it into another top tier box deck, I do not see Genesect as anything other than the clear-cut number 1. But I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.